This is the life story of Theodore Klein, video number 8. So let's we were talking about the kids in Putnam Lake. I believe you were talking about the Putnam Lake Jewish Center and how it was formed and how you got involved in it.
Yes, it was formed in 1947. These men they decided to have a Jewish center, and they bought this Republican club, which went out of business. Which went out of business, the Republican club, and they converted it into a synagogue. There was one man there, an elderly gentleman, who was knowledgeable in the. He can read the Torah a little bit, and he was knowledgeable in the tradition and the services. But they paid a lot of money, and they got Sidorim and Machzorim and they Talesim, and they made a nice little Jewish center. One guy, 2 Torahs were donated by different people. One was donated by Mr. Solomon. He was called the Tomato King. He had a tomato wholesaler in Hunts Point Garden in the Bronx, and he donated a Torah, and there was another Torah donated by another man. So we had 2 nice little Torahs there. When I came into the scene, which was not until the 60s, they already had nice membership, and they flourished. It was very nice. They had the picnics, they had all kinds of stuff together, and primarily their children were growing up, so they had a place for their children to congregate, to meet, and so they came to the lake with their children. By the time we got on the lake, some of those children were, when my wife was growing up there, these were little children. Her family was not involved with the Jewish Center. They were not members, so they were not involved. But they knew people who were members, and so when I got on the scene, I needed a shul, and so I had a place to go to for the 8-10 weeks in the summertime. So it was perfect, and so I became a key figure in the center. And as the membership got a little older and they were dying, so I eventually became the secretary, and then I became the president for a number of years. And I was there until the shul went defunct. The membership moved away, they died, we had nothing left, and eventually we put the shul up for sale, which was in itself an ordeal. And we voted, and a few members left, and we divvied the money up between 3 organizations. One was Hadassah, one was
Maybe Ort?
no, Hadassah.
Mr. Corman wanted it sent somewhere in Israel.
No, he wanted what is called a Torah. I sent one of the Torahs to one of his pet involved with it, one development, and that development was in the West Bank. It was a new development. I don't remember offhand. I hope I can remember it. So we sent the Torah over there to them. They just built a shul. They needed a Torah, so I donated the Torah, and I got a letter from the president thanking us for sending them a Torah. There were $30,000 involved. So one went to Hadassah, one went to the UJA, and the third one went to another one of the organizations. So the membership, nobody got anything from this. I made sure that everybody got these organizations that was on the up and up, and they got the money, so nobody can come back and say, where's the money? We had it all approved and written and everything. I had a lawyer. As a matter of fact, my son David got me a lawyer, a freebie. It was pro bono, it's called, pro bono, and he helped right at the end, he told us what to do and how to get rid of everything. Prior to that, I had a fellow from up there, Samber, I think his name was. And he charged me $175 an hour. And this was the shul's money. It wasn't charity. Nobody was making any money on it. That's how he charged us. So, and if I called him up, I spoke to him for 5 minutes. He charged me for 8 minutes, a quarter hour. So I says, I have to get rid of this guy. This guy is not, this guy's just stealing, And anyhow, that's what it was. And so finally, once I had it pro bono, and the man, the lawyer that my son gave me was very nice, and he put us on the right track. He told us what to do. We had a final meeting in my house. The few members that were left, we sent letters to the ones we knew were still alive, and we welcomed them to come to the meeting on such and such a date and vote. And some wrote back, and some no response. And so we had the meeting, and the majority, whatever it was, we had more or less agreed on what we want to do with the money and how we're going to divvy it up. So we wanted to divvy it up to protect everybody's interests. Like one guy wanted the UJA, and one wanted Hadassah, and somebody else wanted something else. So make sure we gave everybody, so nobody, was sort of left out or whatever from doing it, because they all had their own interests in this. Some of them were there from the inception, from the late 40s, and now we're talking about
It's probably the
late
late
80s, very late 80s, when we finally, there was no membership left.
Who was the building sold to?
The building was sold to the church, but not to the Catholic Church, to the Protestant Church, but they already had a church. So the proviso was I didn't want to sell it to a church, but the proviso was that they're not going to use it for services. They were going to use it as a recreation building, because the nice hall was a nice big building. They were going to refix it up, and they can use it for socializing for the youngsters and whatever in the community. And when they have services, religious services, they went across the street to the church. So I felt that was not a bad compromise. It wasn't to be used for religious purposes as such. I mean, if they wanted to talk about their religiosity, it's okay, but that doesn't mean that's a service.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter now. They may be using it as a church. Nobody would care.
I don't know. I haven't been through there for many years. I went up there one year and saw the pastor there yet. He still remembered me. And they still hadn't made it into anything.
Oh, so they just owned it and left it there?
No, they didn't open it. They worked on it. They had freebie from the congregation. They were carpenters and whatever.
Oh.
They did whatever they had.
It was a very funny plot of land. It was not a good location.
It wasn't good.
It was basically in a big hole next to a swamp.
Yes, it was like a swampish. It could get flooded. But it was a big headache. We finally got rid of it.
Where's the second Torah?
The second Torah came to Florida. There was a fella there called Mr. Come on, so bad when names are getting old. Anyhow, Goodman, not Goodman.
Goldhammer?
Goldhammer, thank you, Mr. Goldhammer. So he moved down here, I think to Pembroke Pines, one of these developments down here. So he asked if he could give the shul the Torah, the other Torah. So we didn't know what to do with us. So I donated the Torah. We voted, we let him take the Torah to that development. It was a shul, a large conservative shul, and we let him have the Torah to be used in that synagogue. It's better than sitting in someone's nowhere.
Wasn't it in Taurus MS for a while?
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, that tour was in. I took it with me to my synagogue in the Bronx,
Not
in
the
Queens. In Queens, it was called the Congregation Taurus MS, and it was just a block down from where I lived. As a matter of fact, I still go to that synagogue when I visit my son who lives across the street from there, my son Arthur. And I go to the synagogue and they now acknowledge me. A few people remember me. And there's just a few old timers left. And I bought the Torah there and they use it for many, many years. But that Torah was not the Torah that went to Florida. That Torah was eventually sent to Israel. It was a very nice little Torah. It had a silver bottom. It was really nice. So that went to that development. I can't remember. A very renowned development on the West Bank.
I don't think it matters.
So
where did all of the
now the connection that Dr. Corman had over there was that he had a friend who lived in that development.
but he was always very Zionistic.
Very Zionistic. And what happened was his friend got into trouble with the Israeli government somehow. And he got him to the United States, and this is off the record. And this man, I forgot his name, I knew his name, I met him, I used to walk home from shul with him. This fellow was like what they call that, a radical nationalist.
Yeah. You don't mean Mayor Kahana?
No. Nobody was after Meir Kahane except the Arabs. This he had to run away from the Israeli government.
Oh, okay.
So he came here, and the FBI was after him. I don't know what was going on. Anyhow, he took him up to Putnam Lake, and he hid him up there in his house in Putnam Lake. And he stayed there for quite a while at the lake till everything cleared up. Okay, so I used to go walk on with Sam Corman and this fellow. We were just buddies walking along the road to on a Shabbat afternoon, coming home from shul after services, and so that was one interesting episode that I got involved with with this.
But the Torah went to his community or something?
The what?
The Torah went to his community?
Yes, the Torah went to his community. He was in the West Bank. That time was this development. This was very young development at that time. Yeah. Now, of course, it's built up much bigger. I can't think of the name of that development. Anyhow, the Torah is there. I'm sure they still use it, or they sold it, or whatever they did. But there was a need for it. See, in Israel, you have a need for the Torah. Here, it's they buy them and they sell them. I don't know. It's a different, but they need the Torahs.
What happened to the in memoriam plaques from the Putnam?
The in memoriam plaques, I got the in memoriam plaques. That's another thing, and I got rid of them by, I think I put up some of the names in Torah Emet. I gave a plaque to, but I also made a donation for them to put it up. So, and I think we did this to a couple of shuls where they took the plaques and they put it up, and I gave like each one $500, $1,000, to keep the plaques up. So,
but the big Putnam Lake Jewish Center sign didn't get mounted anywhere.
No.
I mean, the in memoriam sign itself. Did that get mounted anywhere?
I don't know. I don't remember that at all. I think the whole unit went together.
Yeah, it probably did. It's probably hanging
The
someplace.
whole unit went together. It's hanging up somewhere.
I wonder if it's hanging in Taurus MS.
I didn't see it in Torah's MS, so that makes me wonder where I put it. It's possible I gave it to Yvette to put into her synagogue up in Westchester, White Plains. Maybe there, I don't know. Or maybe Goldhammer took it somewhere and put it up. But we paid wherever it's ordered because that goes with it. They'll take it for money,
Right.
you know. So we made sure that everyone's thing was taken care of. And what interesting was, and I had all those Sidurim, there was a fire in the shul. Some bum started a fire. There's always anti-Semitism. Once you asked me whether I encountered any problems walking all the time. Only one time we have encountered a problem, and it was on Rosh Hashanah night. I don't know if you were with me. Maybe you were too young and you stayed at home. At least one or two of my older children were with me for sure. Maybe Carol and Arthur, and maybe you were with me too. It's very possible. I don't know if you recall that. We were walking, and we got to the point about, remember where the grocery store was? And then near Scalari's.
Yeah,
It was
in
very,
town.
and at that point we used to go down the hill and cut shortcut, and we used to go walk down there. Anyhow, some bum was driving by with a panel truck, and he started to holler out the window and say some remarks with Jews. I don't know. So he carries doing the stuff. So I thought, this is not good. This guy's drunk. This guy could be a nutcase. I don't know what. And I was very close to that point, and I knew that this guy didn't know what the hell we did. So he went a ways, and I said to you kids, okay, let's go. And we cut down that and everyone walked on the side and nobody, because it was pitch dark down there.
Right.
And sure enough, that bum came back with his panel truck, and kids ran around, right? And he came right by, went back to the monument and made it to it, and then he didn't see us. Now then he went up the road. What was the name of that road?
Haviland Drive?
Haviland Drive, right? To go up past the monument, coming up there to the hill. But we were on the side. We didn't get out to the main road for a bit. So he went there, and then he must have come back, go back, he never saw us again. So he didn't know where we turned off, what we did. So anyhow, we got back home, everything was good. That was one time I encountered where it might be a problem. So I had to figure out what I would do in case, something was going on. So I was gonna say if something's a problem, to take the truck, the number of the truck and run like hell up around and up the hill and home and report it, because you know what this bummies can do. It can come out with a iron bar and everything, can cause trouble. I just want to make sure that the kids were safe. So that was the closest one we had, where I encountered any problem there. Never had. But then later on, when the shoe was abandoned, somebody started. Could have been the same bum, had his problems mentally, and somebody started a fire at the shoe. So sure enough, the shoe got destroyed. The front of the shoe got all messed up, and so I got the insurance guys. They come and whatever. Anyhow, they gave us some money, and then we sold the land, and then then I had all those burned Sidurim. Whatever Sidurim, I had everything I had. So I put them into big black bags. I had to bury it. And we didn't have the money to have it buried properly in a cemetery. I don't know, it should have been buried in a cemetery. But you were not aware, but we had bought the 5 lots next to our lot, going down the hill.
No, I know that.
You knew that?
Of course.
Okay.
I grew up with the woods there.
Right. So that woods was on my land, from our 5 lots down to to the next Cameron Road. So Mama had a friend, Joe Garcia, that she grew up with from the lake. She was friendly with his sisters. You know, they was all kids together. So she got Joe to come over. He had a what do you call, bulldozer thing. So he came up with a bulldozer. He made a space in there, and nobody was there. It was in the woods. All the trees remained around except what he was going in. So he went in. Nobody knew what he was doing. There's nobody around. The house was already purchased next to it on Cameron Road. And they didn't see it either. This guy made a big hole. Made a big hole over there. And I told him, I asked him if he helped me, and we threw we all put, but it's in a plastic bag. You know, in big black plastic bags. We threw all the Theodore in there, and then I buried it, you know, and then the ground, and then we put, to make grass grow over it. So it's buried under there. Now these people eventually bought that land from me.
I remember.
So we sold the land to them, and they only utilized it for surface things. I don't know if they ever built anything on there. I never went back to ever see that
Last
corner
time I was
lot.
there, they didn't, it was just lawn.
It was just lawn, which was, I was comfortable with that. They didn't dig down, they didn't find all these things, you know. So it was buried, it should be buried. Maybe it was better if it was buried in a more kosher place, you know, but it's buried out of the way, and so we got rid of it. And then we sold the shul, and that was the...
Where did he dig the hole from? From Rhine Cliff Road or from your property?
No, from our property, he went into the woods.
Ah,
So it was that, you know, the hedge was in the outside, and nobody knew what the heck he was doing. He just went into the partial away, he didn't all the way through. He just made a big hole, big enough, and then we were able to put in all the bags. I don't know how many bags there were, 10 bags, whatever. And we put it in, and then he got all the soil over it, and then we buried it. And it stayed like that.
I need to change the battery. 1 second. So you were saying about the burnt sitters?
Yeah, so I don't know whether I did the right thing. Maybe if I was more learned and knew how the proper way to get rid of holy writings. So I did the best that I could under the circumstances over there. And I was like the last man standing, you know, in the last of the Mohegans. Because the whole place just went, and I was like the last guy to close the doors.
Who were even still alive at that point?
Who was still alive at that point? I think Dr. Zimbler had died. The only one I knew was alive was, no, even Goldhammer, I think, died.
Goldhammer died.
He died. The only one that remained from the group was Yvette. Yvette Laurie. You know, Yvette, she married, what's his name? You knew his husband. You knew.
Jack Laurie, was it? Is it Jack?
No, it wasn't. I forgot the name.
He converted for her.
Yes. You answer quickly because she'll wake up. Then we're in trouble.
It was Carol.
Oh, I asked her. We can call her back.
Who were you friends with up in Putnam Lake?
Who were we friends with? Friends, or just acquaintance friends?
Friends.
Yvette and her mother was about the closest people we ever. We were very close to Zimbler. I was very friendly with Dr. Zimbler, nice guy. As a matter of fact, Dr. Zimbler helped us tremendously. For somebody who was just an acquaintance from up there, we were engaged. We were living in the project, and all of a sudden, your mother saw an ad in the paper that there was a house on sale on Fenton Avenue, a little further east than we lived off Pelham Parkway. So she wanted to see the house. They wanted $37,500 for the house, and we were living in a project. It sounded so good. So we took a ride up there, and it was a nice house. Not only that, but we had a downstairs apartment that was rentable. So that was income for us. At the end, with that rental, the house cost me $90 a month.
Wow.
So that was a lifesaver. We were making much money. The kids were young. You know, we had tuition for the yeshivas. So with that, we could swing it. So, but we didn't have the down payment. I had to pick up the mortgage. This guy had a 5.5% mortgage, something like that. So we had to come up with like $18,000 some down payment.
So much on a $37,000 house?
Well, he paid off so much, so that was left to be paid off.
Oh, you were just assuming his mortgage?
Right, I'm assuming his mortgage. So I had to pay him $18,000, something like that. But we didn't have that kind of money, and we're sitting there, we're figuring, and we're penciling and trying to figure out what to do. Where could we get money from? Well, I approached my sister, and she got us, I don't know, a few $1,000s from Bumi's sisters. They gave us, I don't know, $5,000, whatever. Whatever stocks and bonds, we had a little bit. So I added up another $3,000, and now we worked it out. Now I needed more money. I needed so much. So we came, as my wife says to me, he says, call up Dr. Zimbler, you're friendly with him. So I called him up, I said, maybe you can do me a favor. I told him the situation, I said, you think you can lend me $10,000?
Which was a lot of money.
Oh, a lot of money. So he says, $10,000. You know, so, okay, I says, all right. So I said, okay, it's too much. And maybe you can give me just $5,000 because we needed to have such and such amount for a down payment, and we'll pay you back within a year or so. And he gave me the money. So, and no interest.
Was there any paperwork even?
No, I wasn't in writing.
So he just
He
handed
handed
you
me the $5,000, no interest, because he knew the Jew can't take interest from another Jew. He gave us the money with that. Gee, that was so nice. So that put together with, I don't know what else we got, somebody else. We got a loan from the bank maybe for $2,000-3,000. We got it all together, and within 2 years we paid everybody off. Your mother then that's when you came in. We went in, we bought the house, and she took you and signed you up in. But that's just, you switch the thing on the that's it. So she went and she signed you up in the same school that Carol went to Beis Yaakov, in the, what do you call that when you
on the Grand Concourse.
Yeah, but no, it was
Beth
on
Jacob,
Jerome
Beth
Avenue.
Mary.
Beth Jacob, you went, but you started in what grade? before school.
Nursery or kindergarten?
Nursery, went to nursery. She signed you up and you every day, and your big sister took care of you. She took you into school, and the first day she had problems, she took you to in, and you ran under the table and you wouldn't come out. But she watched you. She was always, you're okay. And then you got on the bus with her and would put you home at night. So this was good. And she got a job right away. So whatever did, we moved in, and then we started to get money to start paying different people off. And what happened was, so we rented the place right away, and we got that Oriental lady with Kiki and Boo Boo. What was their names? The two little kids. She had two little.
I don't remember the kids.
You know, there were two little Chinese kids. Well, maybe your sister remember, or your brother. Yeah, well, you were 2-3 years old yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they were like your age, maybe younger. And the woman worked in the hospital. She worked in the in a big hospital right on the Parkway, Pelham Parkway. It was a big hospital. So she worked there, and she was all right. So she took care of them. And then we had another couple there. This guy, she left after a while, and then we got this other couple. He was like an intern in the hospital, and this guy she made such a mess. He was a pig, and he and his wife, I don't know. So he used to pick his nose and he used to flick it up. And when we moved out, all the ceiling was all full of like crap. People, you never know how people are, you know. But when the Chinese lady moved out, ask Carol and Arthur.
I remember.
You remember that?
I remember.
With the cockroaches?
Yeah, so what was the story? What happened?
What happened was that she had sugar up on top of the cabinet. There was sugar there. Either she didn't know or it was spilled over. And the cockroaches loved that stuff. And she wouldn't kill a cockroach. It was against her religion. I don't know. I wasn't aware of that we had cockroaches till she moved out. Oh man, Saturday night she moved out. Saturday night we went down there to start cleaning the place out. And we go down and they were falling down. Thousands of them. You kids were there stomping them, and you guys were having a ball there, the three of you. It was unbelievable what happened. So it was another experience we had. Then finally we got a decent couple, a decent guy, single guy. This was the best tenant we ever had. This is just before we moved out. 6 months he lived there. For 6 months, he still lived there because I had a year with him. But we moved out, we sold it. Every month, religiously, boom, he had the money there, young guy, he had the money there, never moved in one day. Never moved in. Never saw him, never moved in, came religiously the first of the month, he was there with a check.
Why did he do it?
So that was our big discussion. Why did he do it? You know as much as I know. So we figured, well, maybe he's on dope. Maybe he wants to get away from his parents. It was like a place for him to hide to, if he needs it.
Thought maybe he's married and that's where he brings his girlfriend.
Who knows? Nobody came to the house. There was nobody ever down there. It was the same as when we gave him the key, and when he moved in, he never went into the apartment, never used electricity, never did anything, paid religiously.
Wow.
So it was such a wonderful, such a great tenant. You know?
Yeah, he's paying the mortgage and you don't have to do anything.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, you didn't have to worry about these jerks with the flicking and then I had this guy just now over here. And then we had one in Budnick in Putnam Lake. Oh, what he did, that guy. Oh my God, what terrible people we had rented to. We had a nice couple there, the Buners in Putnam Lake. a middle-aged couple, very nice.
So how did you get to that point where you were renting it?
How did I get to that point? We needed it. What do you mean? Putnam
Where you
Lake?
were renting Putnam Lake?
Yeah, we were renting.
When was this?
Well, it was a period of time where we decided that we didn't need to go there. We didn't go anywhere. We moved to Queens. It was a big trip to go out there. So we decided to start renting it. Well, we did this for a while. Everything was okay, but when you're a landlord, you got trouble, especially old cars like that. There's always trouble, the water, the this, and that. So it got to the point where you get fed up. You say, the hell with this, we get rid of it. So we put it up for sale. So now we put this Putnam Lake up for sale for $103,000 we got for it. $103,000 in 1993, something like that.
That included the back lot.
This is already, yeah, right. Covered the whole thing at $103,000. You say, well, good, not good, I don't know. Her parents in 1942 is when they bought it. And they bought it for $2,000 or $2,500. So what kind of a profit is that?
Pretty good.
Pretty good profit, right? Not only that, but the whole family grew up. All our children grew up. My wife and her brother grew up there. They all grew up there. We used that. How many years did we use that? It was up to you guys into your late teens, early 20s, some of you.
Yeah.
Right? It was safe for my wife.
I was always sorry you sold it because I think I loved that place more than any of the other
Yeah,
kids
but it was
did.
your youth. You loved it. It was that freedom. With freedom, that's why maybe you like to go
I'd
hiking.
love to have it now. I'd love to.
Well, you probably can pick up for a song and a dance. Who knows?
I don't know.
You know. But I'm just saying that it was very good.
Was it hard for Mommy to sell it?
No, it was getting difficult for us. You know, age catches up to you.
Well, but she had a lot of
And
emotional connection.
her mother died already. We couldn't sell it while her mother was still alive. Her mother died in 93. Was it 90? No. Her mother died in 1988. Her mother died in August 1988.
Because I was in California.
You were in California. Your brother, I had my first heart attack when my grandma was also in the hospital at the same time. She was very sick and very trouble with her heart. I ended up with my problem with the heart. I was cleaning the septic tank. I was digging. I had to do something. I was digging, and I was getting chest pains, and all of a sudden I stopped. I said, "Louis, I can't do this anymore. Getting pain, it won't go away. The pain won't go away." So I said, "I think we should go to the hospital." So she puts me into the car. I went into the car, and her mother was there, and she drives me to the Danbury Hospital. In the Danbury Hospital, they check me out, and they say, "Oh, we're gonna have to send him to Yale, New Haven." That was the big hospital, the Yale University Hospital. They said, "Why?" Because they're too small. They have bigger procedures now. They have all the new latest stuff. You have to go there to Yale. So they got me to Yale.
They sent you in an ambulance?
Yeah, they put me in an ambulance and drove me down there. But in the meanwhile, they tried to get a hold of my doctor, Dr. Newman. You remember Dr. Newman?
In Queens?
Shyster, yeah, young guy. He had a wife, was a frum guy. Steal like they like to steal. They stole, was freebie. They just made up numbers and they charged the government. They found a GHI, dropped them. They go, but you see, you can't be a chazer. You know what he did? He was so he's gonna fix something on his roof, and he puts the ladder up on 78th Avenue where he lived, up on the wall, and he goes up there and he falls down. End up with his back, forget it. He couldn't walk anymore. He had to give up his practice. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, so he fall down from so high up, you know. So anyhow, what happened with him was that before I had this attack, he was treating me for my stomach, and he sent me to this place to check my stomach out. They took pictures over there and everything, and he got a report back. And when this doctor called him from the Danbury Hospital, they want to know about about what he knew about the heart and how they treat it. He says, I'm looking for him. He goes, I just got a report. It looks like he's got cancer of the liver. So he got cancer of the liver. Okay, thank you. And so they call in a liver specialist. It was like a Friday near dusk. And in he walks with his lady assistant. And he takes the measures, presses, he measures. He says, how's it feel? I says, good. I says, pain? No. He says, it's not swollen. It's not large. The liver seems very normal. They don't know what to, all right. They packed me up, put me in the ambulance, they take me down to Yale. I get into Yale, now they start, okay, how are we gonna treat him? So they decided, no sense in treating his heart if he's gonna die from liver cancer, right? So now they have to determine what the heck to do. Those days they didn't have the stents yet, 1988. There's no stents, they don't know from such stuff.
But they had the angioplasty done, I think.
They did angioplasty, they went through the arm. See, they did the arm. No. The arm was done for angioplasty in Danbury. That's how the guy was trained. In New Haven, the guy did it through the groin. It depends anyway, some would train one way, some would train another way. So I had done both a few times, different guys, different places. So the guy in New Haven says, so finally they decide that they do an angioplasty, see what's going on, and they treated it whatever they could those days to make the thing larger. They probably put in the thing and they spread it apart. So that'll hold me. They couldn't put in a balloon in there yet, and they leave a stent in. There was no stents. They could put the balloon and spread out and push the plaque against the skin, and hopefully it'll stick to it, and blood will be able to go through. So they did that. Was good. Now they want to treat the liver. So they had a young Jewish guy, liver doctor, who came in from London. So he was like the expert. So he calls me, he checks me out with the liver. All right. Now they send me down to the radiology department. Radiology was an older guy, very knowledgeable. So they decided to do what they put in a radioactive thing. And they put it in my blood, and they went around and they check out the liver. And they checked the liver, and they checked the liver. Okay. Let it go. They discharged me. They told me, come back this was like September, come back in November. Came back, we drove up to Yale, and I went in there, and again they checked me. Okay, come back in January. I did this like 3 times. No changes, nothing. So then the doctor calls me, and he says, nice guy, he must have been a frum guy. He says to me, go home, forget about it. He says, you have what is known as a hemangioma. Hemangioma is a spot where all the blood vessels come together. It's a big glob. It looks like a big growth.
Right.
So that's what they see, this big glob over there. So as soon as I go for any test, I tell them I have a hemangioma over there. So don't panic. right away. Of course, you can still have it, but at least you know that it's not
Yeah, it's not
get
that.
excited about. So that's what happened over there. That was an experience, and that was my first start.
What year was that?
This was now 1989.
Now, you basically got the heart attack and the ulcer because of stress at work, right?
The ulcer, when I got my ulcer. Oh yeah.
So what's happening at work during all of this time?
Nothing, but I'm getting ready to retire. I got promoted. I became the head. They took me out of the head of the audit, and the controller made me a head of the accounts payable department, big department. And I have 93 people under me, and then I had another 15 in another section. I had 108 people working for me.
Wow.
And I was getting bupkis. They weren't paying. They were paying crap. Since then, they're paying through the nose for all kinds of schwarzes for everybody else is getting money. But the Jews controlled at that time, and they didn't give them. Whenever there's money left over in the budget, you know what they did? They took the money, they divided among themselves. They gave themselves raises, all the top echelon. They never gave the money back to the government. It disappeared in the thing. But middle management was taking a beating from all these assholes. And what finally made me I got a promotion. So when I finally left, I was making 57,000. I'm ahead of 108 people.
Wow.
I mean, it's nuts. Today, they're giving about $100,000 for nothing for people. So anyhow, that's now over with. But that's what was going on. So I had accumulated enough time. I had a heart attack. At that point, the job was very stressful. We were just computerizing everything. Everything was going on the computer. And we were changing over, and a lot of problems with the payments. And all of a sudden, I had a guy there they brought over from a different part of the city and made him in charge of the housing authority. This guy's a pain in the, he was so, gung-ho, stress, and all he did was make everybody work and do all the things. And your middle manager got crunched, between top management and lousy workers, and you caught up in the middle. But we managed, we got everything going, they got the system up, we got it going. But I was getting, in that period of time, I was starting to get chest pains. One day I was coming to work and I got such pain, I thought I'd pass out. And I had to sit down, and it was, finally it eased up and went away. But soon after that came the summer, and I got the attack finally in Putnam Lake, where I ended up in the hospital. That time I thought I ended up in the hospital that day. I didn't know it was my heart. I was getting it in the pit of my stomach. But then I had an ulcer. But so that what happened is that I eventually I said to myself, "What am I? I had the heart attack." I said, "I'm not going to get carried out of here alive. What am I going to kill myself?" I said, "I want to get out of here. I don't want to be carried out in a coffin. Who the hell needs this?" So I decided to put in for retirement.
You had 30 years in?
31 years. At 31 years in, and I had 31 years, and I had 96 days coming to me. Now, they were going to pay me for 72. That was a rule. 72 days they would give me cash for. So I would have to lose, I would lose 24 days. So now I had a few months to get rid of those 24 days. So I started to work 2 days a week, 3 days a week. I knocked the whole thing off. I had the last few months, and then I got out of there. And I was very happy to get out, and I retired. And in the interim, her mother passed away just before, before I retired. So it was a stress period for her, for your mother. and we just bought the apartment. Oh, we had this apartment that we were moving in. We were moving into. We had the apartment on 50th Street, 78th Road, and some of you were out of there already. Oh, Arthur was married
What apartment are you referring to?
when we lived on 78th Road.
But we moved in there in 1976.
76 in where? 78th Road?
Yeah. We moved.
We're still living there.
Yeah.
We're still living there.
But
You
what-
went to
what were you
California.
saying about an
Carol
apartment?
got married from there. Arthur got married from there. You were not in the house at that point.
No, because I was in California.
Yeah, you were in California. We took the upstairs bedroom, but it was Carol's room, and we converted it nicely, and we were going to put Grandma into that room. Gave her a room and let her live with us. Because your mother was sick, she wasn't well, so this way her daughter could watch after her, could cook for her, or could shop for her. She was an independent woman, and she was ready with one more week, and we were ready to leave Putnam Lake, and she was going to, come and live with us. That week she got sick. It was a very hot summer. We had no air conditioning in Putnam Lake. She got sick. Your mother took her to the doctor. They put her into the Danbury Hospital. She never came out of there, and she never moved in. And I got the phone call about that she. I went up, and sure enough, I was holding her hand, and I was watching the machine. It was going like this. I was holding her hand. Her hand was ice cold, and the machine. And I was at one point, you see it leveled off, no beat, and that was the end. Your mother was outside, and I was holding her hand. And as soon as I went like that, the nurses came running in. They knew it immediately.
Yeah, 'cause they have monitors outside.
So they came running in, and right away told me to go out, and they started to fix her up, whatever. So I came home, and I called Rabbi Lax. I told him I need to make arrangements. And so he did, was very nice. He made arrangements with the funeral parlor. And I went there and I picked out a casket, and they shipped the body down to the Riverside funeral on Queens Boulevard. And we had the funeral over there. And Judy Sherman, remember Judy Sherman?
Sure.
She did the Tahara. We were close to them. So she did Tahara for her, and she did Tahara for my mother. She died,
Oh, Judy Sherman died?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
What happened?
Cancer. Young woman.
But is he still alive, Larry?
Yeah, Larry's still alive. So she did the Tahara. It was very nice of her to do the Tahara, gratis. So she did that, and so that was it. And then I don't know. I told you about my experience when I was in the Young Israel. I got on. They asked me to be on the committee.
Which Young Israel?
Queens Valley. So I was on the funeral committee. I don't know what you call it. Anyhow,
Hebra Kadisha.
Hebra Kadisha. I was in the Hebra Kadisha. So they called me a few times. I had to go out, and they gave me another guy to go with. I met him there, and we went down to the basement where they had kept the bodies, and we sat down. Some bodies were in the refrigerator, and some were in caskets because there's not enough room sometimes. There was too much business. So we sat there, said Tehillim, and then we said, But it was also fake. So one day I'm
It
sitting.
was what you said?
Everything is so up and up. One day I'm sitting here with this guy, and we're sitting there, and we're doing Tillam, and then we schmooze a little, and all of a sudden the door opens, and a guy comes walking in from nowhere. So he says, "Who are you?" He says, "Oh, I'm from the Vad Harabonim of Queens." So I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm supposed to be watching the bodies for whoever they're paying for this. But I knew you guys were here, so I didn't have to worry." So he went to sleep. So I got to show him, "You don't know what the hell you're getting." He's a from guy, he's going to sleep. He said, "I don't know, we're watching that same body, we know what we're watching."
Right.
Who are you watching? And one day there were so many bodies, there's a guy comes in with all equipment, and he got the casket open, and he's got needles and things, and he's sewing up this body, and he's working there. I said, "Should I go look?" I better not go look. And he's sewing up and fixing this up. Was a youngster, was in a car accident, and he died, and he was smashed to pieces, and he was trying to make him look decent a little bit. So he was using all kinds of cosmetics and everything to make him, maybe they could open a casket. Not everybody's from where they keep it all, but so that was another experience. Then the worst experience, closest I got to the whole thing was one day they put me on the 4 to 8 shift. Lousy shift. I had to go to work the next day.
Oh, so you do shifts?
Oh yeah, you shifts. 8 to 12, 10 to 12, 10 to 2. It's the middle of the night. It kills your whole,
Yeah.
And it's cold down there. It was like a cold place. And it's a dingy, it's in a basement, So, all right, but you do what you have to do. That's how life is. So I'm there also. So what was our job? This guy's job and my job was, we had to take the bodies out of the refrigerator. Because they're going to come in to do the tahara at 8 a.m. Right? They're going to do tahara, so the body is frozen. It's like a piece of slab of meat. It's frozen. So they can't work on it. It's too cold. So they had to thaw the body. So they have to get, so I don't know, was it 6 o'clock? At one point, we had to get up, take the refrigerator door, open up this door. Now it was like a big refrigerator, the door comes down like this. Then we had to take the body and pull it out. He goes by the head, I go by the foot or whatever, and we pull the body out. Okay, there was like 3 levels, and we took the level. So they only assigned that which was covered by, for the young Israel. That was our job. We knew which body it was. So we did that. So of course I had to grab the leg, he grabbed the shoulder, whatever, and we pulled
They're not on a casket, it's just the body?
It's just a body, and it's in a body on a, what do you call it? It could be there's the casters in the refrigerator. So when you roll the body, it rolls on casters.
But the body wasn't on a piece of wood or something?
No. Because what they did was they take the body, the guys who come in to do the tahara, they take the body out and they put it into the what do you call it, a big bathtub there. And they put it into the bathtub. They fill the bathtub with water, and then they clean the nails. They cut the nails. They do all, make them pure, the body, and they do all kinds of, and then they dress the body up in white. They put the kittel on, whatever. They dress it up, and then they get it ready. And I don't know, maybe they say prayers. I don't know what they do. I never was there for that part. But the people do that in the shul. They do that. They asked me to do that over here. They started to do one of them when I was in the Anshe Emunah. But I didn't want to get involved with it. So, but that was the closest I got when I pulled the body out of the, it was stiff as everything. It was ice cold, stiff, and then boom, pulled it right out. So, But people have guts to do all kinds of things. Look, these doctors cut people up pieces, and they do that stuff.
You
It
know, a
doesn't
lot of
bother.
things, once you do them the first time, they're not.
Yeah, people pass out. They go to these medical schools. The first time they pass out, they see the, oh, you know, and then next time, all right, only half passed out.
Right.
You know.
So,
You know what's even worse than that? Well, these guys, they have to go, when they have to go into the tunnel with the trains, and a guy falls in front of the track and he's cut into pieces. I have to find pieces of all over the place. I have to put them together. What a lousy job. That's police. They gather all these pieces together. Oh my God. You think that's that?
like Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah. So that was just experiences. Maybe I shouldn't have told you, but this
Now,
is,
I was not aware you were
this is
ever
my wife.
part of the Chevra Kadisha.
Yeah, I was part of Kadisha, yeah. I used to go mail it many times. I did that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you were a little kid, and I mean, you know, you didn't even know where I was going. And it's not, you don't discuss it with kids, these things, you know.
So let's go back to the beginning. So now you were living in the project, right? And you just moved to Fenton Avenue,
Yes.
right? So at this point, where were the kids in school? What was?
Okay, what school was we now? We had to, what do you call it, close down on us about that time, where you and Arthur went. You and Arthur went to Moshe Zichro Moshe, right? And Kava was going to Beis Yaakov. So we decided, well, this is crazy. We signed you guys up for broilers. So
Why did you choose Breuers?
why? Because remember when you were all together, and we thought that there was a more modern yeshiva, in a way. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know too much about these things. But we picked the Breuers. I don't know, it was one of the few yeshivas left. What do you call it? In the Bronx, there was no yeshivas left. What do you call it? Closed down. Zichron Moshe. Then was another big one, named after a big rabbi. That closed down. There was nothing left. When we moved to Fenton Avenue, there was somebody opened up a little yeshiva there in the Young Israel Astor Gardens.
That wasn't Zichron Moshe?
No, that wasn't Zichron Moshe.
Because I went to that school.
I know you went to that school. You got a very high mark from the teacher there. That school. You were
What grade was that?
a very early grade.
Did I ever go to Zichron Moshe?
Yes, you went to Zichron Moshe.
For what? It
was on what do you call it Avenue? It was on Tremont Avenue. You didn't go there on Tremont Avenue and a corner of Grand Concourse.
There was a big building there.
Was it yeshiva and
Was
a
that
school?
not far from Beth Jacob, Beth Miriam?
Right. It was just a few blocks up. That was further down.
I remember the building.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever went to school there.
Well, maybe you didn't. Maybe you started near us. But anyhow, you ended up in Breuers. You went to Breuers. And the three of you went there, and so you stayed there for 2 years. And then we didn't like the way things were going in our neighborhood. There were no kids left. You had one kid left that was your friends.
Svi Sebra.
Sweet Sebra. That was a good kid. Nobody was left there, no. The whole thing changed. The older ones already were almost started in high school. There's nothing left. So what we're going to hang around here for? So we decided, let's move. So we moved on. So we went to Queens, which was the upcoming neighborhood. I didn't know too much about it, but we found this house at $42,500. We got $54,000 for our house, and we were there for 2 years. So we made more money than we saved in all those years. I got about $37,500, and we got $54,000 in 2 years. Right? It was like a wow. So we got this for $42,500 with a 5% mortgage. picked up the guy's mortgage, 5%, 5.25%. Was very nice, very easy. So then we went there, and then we enrolled you guys into the cheapest yeshiva we could find, which was Tiferes Moshe. Was that the name of it?
Yeah, we went to Tiferes Moshe.
Yeah, Tiferes Moshe. And Carol went to Beis Yaakov. She hated it. She didn't like it. They were very snooty, those kids, you know. She was very snooty. She had friends in the neighborhood, and you guys certainly made friends with your gang that you guys hung around with. You know, more or less they were. You know, you guys were more modern outlook and everything. I remember one incident, either you or Arthur was telling us about this kid, very frum little kid came over to you guys and wanted help because the Scotsmen were bothering them. So I don't know, Woods said something to him, he says, well, why don't you fight back? Or, you know, something like that. So kid says, no, you know, was very timid. You know? So that's why these bums get away sometimes with a lot of stuff. Just like they all ran away when this kid needed help. They all ran away on me. You know?
No, we never ran away.
No, I know. That's why. So it wasn't easy. But you see, once the other guy knows he's gonna get hurt too, he's not that, what do you call it? He's not that.
He's not so much a big shot.
Yeah, he's not so fast he get to that point. You know, as long as he feels that he can intimidate you and he can beat you up, then he's a big shot. I don't forget that I had a friend, Herbie Wolf. Herbie Wolf was a chubby little Jewish guy, very bright guy. He was a lawyer, was CPA. He went to Clinton. Then I don't know what school, college he went to, Columbia. Very bright, but he wasn't a fight. He was all alone. He was a single boy, only child they had. So there was an Irish kid on the block. Eventually, the guy became a policeman in the New York City Housing Authority. You know, and this guy used to be. He never picked on me. This guy. Me, he stayed away from. Why? Because my brother would have knocked him on his ass. And he knew that, you know, my brother was no slouch. He was a tough kid, my brother. So, but he picked on Herbie all the time, And finally Herbie, one day, he was standing against the wall in his house, and this guy was, you know, pushed him and then Herbie he swung out his arm and hit the guy right in the face, and the guy went back, and he never bothered him again. And it was, you know,
That's it.
It just was one of those things. But he just had one swing, and the whole game changed.
Yeah.
So this is just little events. We were young then.
Was it hard to pay for yeshiva?
Very hard, very hard. And in fact, we fell behind and we couldn't afford it. It was so difficult. It wasn't much money. Today's money was garbage, nothing, you know. And I went, and my mother went to bingo. That's how I know the Lipmans. You know the Lipmans?
No.
From 78th Road.
I'm sure I do. Maybe
Yes,
I remember.
their son's name was Usher. Usher Lipman.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, well, I met him. The father used to come to the bingo game, and the mother used to go because he and Arthur went to Zichron Moshe. So one of the tuitions, and it was for that, and we also went because of Carol. That's why we had to go like 4 times a week for the other yeshiva, Beis Yaakov. So they used to have these bingo games. So we used to travel to and you know, the smoke was terrible. You came back, you smelled the reek from that smoke.
Did they have them in the school?
The what? Yeah, it's a big room on the bottom, wherever They had a big,
So who came to play bingo?
all the Puerto Ricans, all the Jewish women, mostly women came, you know, and they paid, and there was some, these are dumb people, quote unquote, you think. You just say, smart they had, some of them had cards like this, and they used to go like this, and they knew everything, whatever the number was. He said, for dummies, the guy could be an accountant.
Yeah.
You know, it was fascinating how the people have seichel, but they don't have the learning, they don't have the background.
Did the yeshivas give scholarships back then?
That was the scholarship.
So how much did you get off for doing the bingo game?
I don't know, fan. I know I had to go every week, twice a week, because that was a big income for them. One time, your mother was funny. One time she became the caller, so she wanted to have fun. She has a sense of humor. It started a riot. She goes, 76. They went crazy. They're very into this. This is very intense.
It only goes up to 75.
This is very intense. And how you doing this stuff? These people are, you know, there's a game with them, you know what I mean? This is not fun thing. And to get that moron off of there, and screaming, get her out of there. So I went back the next week, and I was telling him, he says, oh, you should see, we had a caller here last week. You should see her. What a dope.
That's funny.
That was our experience. And the Lipmans were there, because they also had to pay tuition. They cut down on their tuition. Well, what saved us one year was the fact that the Young Israel of Queens Valley, they had a night, it cost you $10 for one night, and you had a ticket, and they would call numbers.
A raffle.
Yeah, they would call numbers, and they would put a number up on the board. And if your number came up, you were out. And if your number wasn't called, you're still in. So Mr. Sherman bought, I couldn't go that night, so I asked him if he can buy me a raffle, one of the things, for whatever it cost. So he bought me one, and it happened that it fell down, it got all crumpled. So he didn't want to, he said that he didn't want to give me that crumpled one. So he gave me a nice one, and he kept the crumpled one.
The crumpled one won?
No, the nice one won, the crumpled one lost. He kept the crumpled one, he didn't want to give me the crumpled one.
So
But
how much
I'm
did you win?
standing there, and they're calling numbers, and I'm like the last man standing, me and a few other people. And they call, you know, and like you have 10 people left, so you stand up, and they call another number, and one guy sits down, and another two guys sit down, and I'm still standing. And this was going on, and all of a sudden there was 3 of us left. So, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I can't believe this. Your mother went to sleep. It was a Saturday night. And she told me later, she says she had a feeling that if she doesn't show that I'll win. She had that intuitive feeling. So anyhow, there was just one guy and I was left. And the 2 numbers left. And whoever number was called, that guy sits down. And they called the other guy's number, and I'm the only one standing. I got $1,000.
Wow.
Oh my God, I went home and I woke her up. I says, can you never believe it? She goes, you won. I said, I did. She says, I had a feeling you're gonna win.
So that's great.
That $1,000 I went to the yeshiva and pulled us out of the whole.
Bingo thing for a while.
What? Yeah. So, you know, so you know. So you never know. God works in mysterious ways.
Well, that's pretty funny that you won that.
Yeah, I won that. I mean, Never
But
dreamed.
Tiferes Moshe, they didn't have bingo, did they?
The Ferris Moshe. Oh yeah. Oh, that bingo. I used to go to bingo. You know where? In. Oh yeah, man, all the time. It's on a Brooklyn Queens border.
Metropolitan area?
Near there, there's an elevator train, and under there somewhere was a big hall, and they used to have bingo games in that hall, and they rented it out for nights, and they had these games, and Goya were always coming to these games. They loved that. Aye. So that was a period with the bingo.
But that went on for a long time.
Well, until you guys were in
High school.
In high school, yeah. High school, no anymore.
So how many years did you go to bingo?
Well, since you guys were in grade school, bottom grade school until the 12th grade.
So you did it for until 8th grade.
8th grade? What happens in the 9th grade?
That's high school. You said
Oh,
there was no
okay.
bingo.
We did it for 8 years for each one. So,
Right.
you know, it was 8 for Carol,
And it
but I
was
continued
one night
to-
a week or 2 nights a week?
Well, you had to pay one for each school. But once Carol graduated, there was only one school. Because you guys both went to one school. But
So-
then I had to go twice for each of you.
2 nights a week for each
Yeah.
of us?
No, for one of you.
So how many nights a week total were you going at the peak? 2 or 4?
I don't remember. See, it gets on how many people they can get to come. You know what I mean? A lot of people put in for to go. To get off money. It wasn't fun.
So you didn't have to go every week.
Yeah, whenever it was bingo, every week was money. Everybody knew it. They all liked to come to the games. They knew what the games were. It was very busy.
And how many hours a night did it run, the bingo?
The bingo would start at, let's say, 8 o'clock till close to 11, 10:30.
Wow, and you were doing that a couple of nights a week?
Yeah. And then they had a little break at one point, and then they go back to it. They played a certain number of games, 10 games, 12 games. The big games came at the end, when they played the fancy games. They played the full card, which is every number. They played the X. They played the borders. They're different shtick, different methodologies. It was very, very interesting.
But it must have been grueling on you.
Yeah, it was grueling. It was terrible. Especially with my allergy. My eyes cried all night with that allergy. I have allergies. I smoke. Ugh. It was murder.
So let's break here.
Okay.
We did an hour and 15 minutes.
Left?
No, we did that.
Oh, good.